Ethereum right now is still stuck in this symmetrical triangle pattern, but you'll notice from yesterday's video, this pattern has actually changed since yesterday, and I'll explain everything in today's video. Plus, Bitcoin has been stuck in this downtrending channel to the downside all through this area. We were stuck in this sideways trading range, but now we are beginning to trend to the downside. Plus, there's a lot of different crypto news to go through with you today, so make sure to watch until the end of the video. Before I get started with the complete video, make sure to check out my trading masterclass in this video description where I teach you how to trade. Let's begin today's video with the crypto news. Bitcoin. After exactly 4 years, the color of this channel has changed back to green. If one leaves out the crash black swan, this meant the beginning of the parabolic curve for Bitcoin 2012, 2016, 2019, and now looking at this 2023 region. So we can see this original 2012 region where we began actually initially pushing to the downside. It's very similar to like the exponential moving average that I teach you in all of my trading videos and my course. You can see the overall trend is trending to the downside, meaning you're not looking for buys. Then the trend begins to push to the upside. That's when you only want to be looking for buys. Then the trend overall loses, comes back down to the downside, only want to be looking for sells. Then we got this crash here, that black swan event, then looking for pushes to the upside. Now, currently in today's market, we have been pushing to the downside, but you can actually look exactly what's happened. This is the first time it's actually changed over to green, which in this area, when we start to shift over to this green region, that's right before we get this massive parabolic move to the upside. Exactly the same in this 2016 region. First time we got this shift to the green in this channel indicator, that's when we got that massive parabola to the upside. So we've just shifted to green. Overall, very, very bullish for Bitcoin and the entire crypto ecosystem. Next, I've analyzed many Bitcoin charts and I've determined this cycle is most like the 2011 to 2013 and 15 to 17. We are now at a long sideways period before the mid top rise. This says that the major bull run begins in April 2024 and finishes in early 2025. What do you think about this? So we can see this original back in 2015 to 2017, or let's actually begin with 2011 to 2013. We have this basically green part through here. You can see where we actually get that big kickoff is usually this part of the cycle, all beginning at the same part of the cycle. We get this kickoff around this April bull run. Then very similar 2015 to 2017. If you actually project that out, very similar to this last run, we get this real parabola to the upside once we get this far into the cycle. So when we actually see this 2022 to 2025 cycle, where we're currently at right now, we're currently pretty early in the cycle. We usually get this big bull run kickoff like we've just spoke about in this late part, which would actually correlate again to this April 2024 cycle. And currently, if we look, we're just in August of 2023. So we basically nearly have a year to go, basically 9 months to go until we really get that parabola to the upside. So really the goal is to be getting into positions or making sure positions are ready to go for this big push to the upside. And hopefully we're going to at least follow this 2015 to 2017 major bull run to the upside. Bitcoin is reaching the corner of the angle. This is the fourth angle in Bitcoin history. Is this time different? So we can see how we're basically having on this left-hand side, symmetrical triangle. Through here, we're getting a form of another triangle. Through here, we're getting a very similar form of a triangle. And then through here, we actually got that form of a triangle. And as I always talk about with triangles, you can look at the apex point where the two converging lines meet. You can see right at this apex point is right where we got that massive push to the upside. Right at that apex point is where we got that massive push to the upside. Right now, we're currently right at that apex point. Look to the left, look what's happening. This corner strategy advocates for more movement to the upside. Technical setup is very bullish across the board. Most bulls agree on that. Where they differ is whether they actually believe that it's even possible for Bitcoin to go to all-time highs before the halving event. So what we're actually talking about here is these halving events right in here. You can see the halving peaking and the halving bottoming, or the holding bottling and the holding peaking. You can see right on this indicator right through here, when we're getting to these top regions, that's really when we want to be looking for buys in the market. Top region looking for buys. Currently we're at that top region looking for buys. In this same top region looking for buys. And when we get into these bottom areas, you can see what's actually happening. We're topping in the market in these bottom areas. We're topping in the market in these bottom areas. We're topping in the market. So again, it's just another form of an indicator to show that the overall trend of the market is beginning to shift. We're starting to go from that initial bearish market that we have been for over a year into that initial phase of the bull run. And trust me, I'm extremely bullish and I cannot wait for this massive upcoming bull run. And really, you should just be as excited as me. Lastly, let's finish the crypto news with this absolutely fantastic chart here. Periods when to make money. So you can actually see, going back in time, we have all these periods where we actually basically have these long-term peaks and troughs. So you can see 1924, then we have a major peak in 1927, then we have another major bottoming in 1931. But you can see in between here, we've got 1924, then we'll have a minor peak at 1926, then we have a major peak at 1927, and then we'll have a major bottom at this 1931 area. Then 1931, we'll have a medium peak at this 1935 area. We'll then come back, have a bottom at this 1942 area. We'll then come up, have a medium peak at this 45 area, but it will end up being a massive peak, 1945 area. The big thing that it actually turns out, and you actually have a look at, and look at what's actually happening, the main thing here is basically look at this 2020 region right when we had that massive crash to the downside. In this region here, it said this 2012 region, we're going to have a bearish push to the downside. Let's actually look at this and look at previous events that have happened in history and see if this chart actually lines up. So this 2005 region, we've got this bottoming area. Then we've got this low, but we've got a top area in this 2007. And what does that line up with? That 2008 major crash. Then we come down, we get a bottoming in this 2012 region. Then we come up, we get a top in this 2016 region, but we get a major top at this 2019 region. What does that exactly correlate to? Well, I don't want to say it because YouTube monetizes a lot of that, demonetizes, but I'm sure you already know. Then we got a major bottoming coming in 2023. So it's actually basically telling us that we're going to have a recession coming in 2023, and that's going to be a big bottom, and that's really the buying bottom. Then we're going to have a medium peak at this 2026 region. We're going to come back down, have a bottoming at this 2032 region. Then we're going to have a top at this 2034 region, but then we're going to have a major top at this 2035 region. So really, the next top coming in the market is firstly this 2026 region where we're going to have a minor top, but mainly this 2035 region when we're going to have that major top in the market. Now let's look at Ethereum. So initially with Ethereum, we actually had a different triangle on this pattern. You would actually know that I initially was using these bottoms through here for the initial triangle bottom. So the chart actually looked a lot closer to something like this, where we're actually getting the triangle forming and we were looking for this bottoming pattern. I had actually brought it up all the way to here. I'd actually brought it like this and actually had it like that. And that's where we got that breakout. We then got this apex retest right in this region. And then we got that break to the downside. So firstly, one thing that I do want to point out is this still is definitely valid. We've got this triangle pattern right through here. We've got a breakdown of this triangle pattern. We've then got the apex retest, which is extremely common. And then we get the continuation to the downside. But if we just delete everything that's on the chart right now, and we actually have a look, you can see it actually seems to me like we're just getting a continuation of this pattern. If we actually extend it out through here and we make some type of bottom, even a bottoming, just something like that, and then we come through with the top and actually extend it and actually get all of these highs through here, you can see that this still is a form of a symmetrical triangle, and we're still not actually over it. We're still topping at these regions. We're bottoming in these regions. Basically what I would expect is now coming down, bouncing off this region, coming up, bouncing off this region. Then in this area, it's truly going to decide, are we going to get the big shift to the downside and to the upside? So the initial understanding that we were in a symmetrical triangle was understood, was actually grasped really well. We're actually able to pick that up really extremely quickly. But the thing is I do believe now that we are still in the form of a symmetrical triangle, and this pattern is actually forming in more of a longer term trend rather than this shorter term trend like I actually had back here, something more like this. Still makes sense, but I actually do prefer this type of pattern here. Overall, still says that we are going to have continuation to the downside, exponential moving average pointing to the downside. We've now got a 50-50 pattern in this downside momentum. It just tells us probably around a 55% continuation to the downside. There's both ways you can actually trade this to the upside and to the downside, as long as you have the correct risk to reward on your strategy and you already know the rough probability around 45 to 50%. If you were to take a long trade, around 50 to somewhere around 60% if you were to take a short trade. Again, you could take both sides of the trades and you could still come out a long-term profitable trader. And now next with Bitcoin, Bitcoin's looking slightly different to Ethereum. Through this area through here, we're actually expecting that we were going to have that support zone in that area. But what actually happened, we got that breakout in this area. We then initially had all this area as a support zone. You can see it now resisted, acting as a resistance level, and we've got pushes to the downsides. We're initially in this sideways trading range. We're now in a downside trading range. So still in a trading range where we're basically moving sideways, but it's slightly tilted to the downside. So overall in this downwards trending trading range, so we can delete this green line right through here because this makes a lot more sense. We're currently just bouncing off these lows. It isn't a massively huge trading range. You can see from the top to the bottom, it's only around 5%. So it's not like we have a 35% trading range, but overall what usually happens is when we get these downwards trending trading ranges after we've had massive pushes to the upside in the market, like we've had in this region all through here, it usually suggests that the high probability play now is that it's like a flag where we get a big push to the upside. We're now making a flag pattern before we then get that continuation to the upside, mainly because you look to the left and you see the type of pattern that it's actually forming. We're forming more of an upside pattern. So overall high probability of that continuation. The trend here on this daily time frame is starting to point to the downside, but obviously when you start to scroll out and you look at the weekly time frame, you see the long-term trend is pointing to the upside. We're right now coming into the valley zone. Overall, you want to be looking for those long-term plays. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, tap the notification bell to stay up to date with all of my latest YouTube videos. Check out my trading masterclass in this video description and click on the video on your screen right now if you want to continue watching my YouTube trading videos.